so far there's been 3 Unit 2 examinations, which means that in total we've had 6 8-mark questions. So this video is going to be no longer than 15 minutes, so we're going to look at 2 minutes per 8-mark question. And what I want you really to do is think about building up your confidence so that you will attempt these 8-mark questions. There are marks to be had in these. Don't get phased. You've really got to attempt both of your 8 markers. You cannot afford just to ignore 16 marks on each paper. You can't do that. So what you really need to do is understand how you can pick up some pretty simple marks on these questions, because they're not that tricky. So what I want you to do first of all is pause the video, read this question. So hopefully you've had a chance to have a read of the question. Now what I want you to do is pause the video and look for some numbers that stand out. That's what you're looking for whenever you're trying to answer these questions. Look for numbers that stand out. So pause the video now, see if you can spot some. So your question was trying to say, well, what's happened to the costs and the revenue of Ahmed's business? Let's just look at notebooks. First thing, numbers that stand out, the number of items sold's gone down, right? We can put that in a sentence. The items sold went from 5,000 to 1,000. Okay, maybe then we need to think, well, why did that happen? Let's start having a look around the figures again. Hang on, the price has gone up. So number of items sold has gone down by 4,000, from 5,000 to 1,000, full stop. The reason that this might have happened is because the Ahmed's price went from £5 to £8. All right, what effects that had on total revenue? Okay, actually total revenue's now gone down from 25,000 to £8,000. Okay, so we can start to comment about some of these figures that are here. If you wanted to be really smart, it's £10,000 variable costs, £2,000 variable costs, but if you divide them by the items sold, you'll end up with a variable cost per item. So actually the variable cost hasn't changed between the 2 years, but our fixed costs have actually gone up for this business. Between year 1 and year 2 for notebooks. Then let's have a look. What else has it given us? It's given us some more information down here about break even. Can we use it? Oh yeah, we can. So here they are selling well over the break-even point, but by putting the price up, they are now selling actually less than the break-even point, 1,000 rather than 1,250. All you need to do is to put some of that into sentences. Do it as a list. So just list some of those figures. Tell us what's happening. What numbers can you see? Why do you think it might be happening? If we pop over here and just have a quick look at diaries, selling price per item hasn't changed, but the number that we're selling's gone up. Okay, this means that the revenue for the business has actually gone up, which is great. Fixed costs have also gone up for the business, and the variable costs have actually come down. So the price, the money that we're spending producing this product has actually come down, and that's had a massive impact on break-even points. So the break-even has come down quite significantly. So actually, by keeping the price the same, between year 1 and year 2, we've managed to get the number of items up. By managing to reduce that cost, we've helped to lower our break-even point. You put that into this piece of work and you're going to be sort of middle of 5-6 marks. If you're picking up 2 or 3 marks just for those first couple of sentences, the selling price has gone up. This means that, and just a bit of a sentence, what's happened then to revenue. If you can pick a couple of marks up like that on a question like this, you're going to be doing really well overall in the exam. So this is the next question. So what you need to do with this question, again, pause, read the question, look for those big numbers. What are the solutions to Manisha's statement of financial position? Okay, so again, a tough problem, a tough question. So we're looking for a couple of issues and trying to find a couple of solutions. If we look at the comparison between year 1 and year 2, thinking predominantly, as I've said before, about these current assets and current liabilities, that's where you really want to be focusing your attention. What's the one thing that stands out? You should all be looking down here at this net current assets. So we can identify that one of the problems for their business is that the net current assets has gone from 4,050 to minus 2,810. So we need to ask ourselves, why has that actually happened? So to work out our net current assets or our working liability, our working capital, we do our current assets minus our current liabilities. You need to know that equation. So we've done current assets minus current liabilities, and that gives us our working capital of 4,050, and our current assets minus our current liabilities in this year is giving us minus 2,810. So your first sentence can be to identify that this year, in year 2, they ended up minus 2,810, the working capital. Once you've said that, you've got to say, well, why does that problem exist? And what are the possible solutions for that? So if you know that current assets minus current liabilities equals this figure, then for it to have turned to a minus, something's gone wrong. Either current assets have gone down, current liabilities have gone up, or both. So if we start to have a look here, we can see that our current assets for the business, so the amount of people who owe us money has gone down. So possible solutions for the business, so Manisha must increase the number of customers that she has for the business. The revenue for the business has gone down by £6,000, over £6,000 between year 1 and year 2. The amount of cash that Manisha's got in the bank has gone down. This is probably because they're not selling as much. The amount of stock that they've got ready to sell has also gone down, probably because they know they're not selling as much, so they've not got as much stock ready to sell. All of those things could be solved by this idea of getting the number of sales back up. So that would be the big solution that you need to offer for Manisha here. She did have a lot of sales, she doesn't anymore, and that's really reduced their current assets. If we then have a quick look at the current liabilities, okay, so in this case the amount of people that we owe money to, our creditors, has gone down, which is good news, except it also probably indicates that the reason it's gone down is because we don't need as much stock. We don't owe our suppliers as much money for the stock that we're buying. The big problem in this current liabilities is the overdraft's more than doubled. So possible solutions, Manisha needs to see about reducing the overdraft, which has gone from 4,200 to 9,650. If you listed those 4 things in that piece of work, then you are going to pick up a good 3, 4, 5 marks. If you can then say, well, which do you think is the most important point? What is the thing she needs to solve most of all? You're then going to be looking at probably 5 or 6 marks for a question like this. We're only trying to pick up, if we can pick up 4 marks on these 8 markers, then you're going to be doing well. It's about not ignoring these questions and just looking to try and pick up some really easy marks. And if you'd have just spotted this bit here, you'd have picked up maybe a mark just for mentioning that. And then if you could think about, well, why has that happened, then you're starting to look at 2 and 3 and 4 marks, and that's really what we're trying to do here. So hopefully you've got the idea that we're really going through these as quickly as we can. We're just looking for how you can pick up some super quick marks. So just pause, look for some of the problems with Hannah's cash flow situation. So hopefully you've been able to identify that there are some problems with Hannah's cash flow situation. So the first thing to do for anything like this is let's look for those negative numbers, and we're looking down at the closing balance. We've got 3 negative numbers there, okay, so we can identify 3 problems straight away. Whenever it's negative, it means that at the end of that month she didn't have enough money to pay her bills. Now then we need to start looking, we need to think about ways to improve inflows or reduce outflows. That's the only way that she can solve some of these problems. So let's have a look. Our first 2 months here, she's in minus numbers, so get that in your box. In March and April, Hannah was minus 4,400 closing balance and minus 2,700 closing balance. Get that into this piece of work. What solved that problem? So how come she ended up there actually positive again? So let's have a quick look what happened. Okay, so we've got website design fees. She picked up an extra £6,000 worth of inflows that month. Inflows went from 2,000 to 8,000. Get that in as a sentence. This is what happened. Because the next month she doesn't have that website design fees, and she ends up minus 4,300 as a closing balance. And then the next month those website design fees come back again. Brilliant. And she ends up back in with a positive closing balance for that month. So first of all, we can identify straight away that these website design fees, Hannah needs to have more of them. So you've identified what some of the problems are for Hannah. Then first solution that we want to talk about is Hannah's website design fees don't come in every month. This is a part of her business that she needs to focus on. It needs to become more regular. Well, what's the other way she could improve those inflows? If her website maintenance fees are £2,000, it's clearly not enough. If she's not charging enough here, unless she gets these website design fees in. So another possible solution: increase these website maintenance fees, make everyone pay a bit more for looking after their websites. The next thing we need to do is look at those outflows. What can she do to try and reduce them? Can we spot anything which stands out? So you could see that actually, what's going on? material costs start to go up in June and July. What she's spending this money on. So it was quite low here, 600, and then it's up to 1,000 and 1,200. She needs to maybe see if she can keep these material costs down. It's another possible solution. Salaries are £4,000. If they're £4,000, but she's only getting in on a normal month £2,000 worth of revenue, does she need all these staff? So maybe she needs to have a think about that. And finally, she's bought this computer which stands out here for £2,000. So can we manage that outflow? Does she need to buy that computer? Can she buy it later on? Can she somehow reduce that cost? We've picked out really quickly there quite a few. If a cash flow comes up, look for the numbers that stand out. Can you increase your inflows? Can you reduce your outflows? And then overall, if you're looking to pick up some really top marks, what's the most sensible solution here? She can't really get rid of staff, probably. It's unlikely that a computer business can spend less on computers. So what could she do? She could really market this side of her business. If she starts to really sell the website design fees, then actually this brings in a huge amount of money for her business, more so than anything else. So she needs to focus on really promoting this website design fees. That would be my suggestion for an evaluation anyway. So again, pause the video. What can you see after you've read the question that really stands out from this question? Okay, so discussing the possible impact on the business of reducing its product range, i.e. getting rid of one of these products. So first of all, what the examiner is looking for is, can you spot the one product that maybe you should be getting rid of? So hopefully you've spotted that actually puppets, if you read down on all the columns, this business that's making puppets has got revenue of £1,200 and total costs of £2,400. That means that this product is actually making a loss. So if they got rid of puppets, on the face of it, so if you got rid of puppets, the first thing that would hopefully happen is that the business would make £1,200 more profit. Okay, that would be the first thing that we would hope would happen. However, this is key to this question, that the business has got fixed costs. So at the moment, the costs for the business are spread across all of these 4 products. So £1,500 fixed costs here, £1,500 there, and so on and so forth. If you get rid of this business, then all of the fixed costs for these go up to £2,000 per item, per product. So even if you didn't spot that, that's not so much of a problem. Just saying that getting rid of the puppets, which is not making money at the moment, would be a good idea. Even if you suggested getting rid of the spinning tops, which is only break even, might also be something that could pick you up a mark. So getting those 2 sentences in is where you can score marks. But actually then to start to say, well, if we got rid of puppets, the fixed costs on each of these products would actually go up. Now, if fixed costs went up on spinning tops, which is currently breaking even, then this would no longer be making a profit. Get that in as a sentence, you've picked up another mark. Okay. Equally here, revenue 3,000, total costs 2,700. If you put up the fixed costs on this by another £500, this product stops making a profit too. So you only end up with one profitable product. So just by getting rid of those puppets, that'll get you sort of a mark for saying that. But actually then you need to say, well, what would have happened here? And I think this is a really tough question, but it's just to indicate that you could have picked up a mark just for saying that. But then, as I say, starting to mess about with fixed costs means that it goes across all of these 3 products. So then you need to say, well, actually, what would be a better solution for trying to work this out? So what can we do if we can't really reduce the fixed costs because they are what they are? What else can we do to try and reduce the overall cost of the business? So we then need to look at some of these variable costs. Can we reduce these variable costs so that we can reduce these break-even points and therefore hopefully start to make a little bit of extra profit by reducing the overall costs? So we could say here to start thinking about trying to, these variable costs per item, can we start to bring them down, which would ultimately make the business more profitable? I think this is a really tough question, and if you spotted some stuff in this, anything at all, I think you've done really well.